This is where we left off on the last lesson, and our goal is to get to here. So all we're going to do in this lesson, add a couple pictures, and then we'll play around with some of the margins so we can get these spaces in between. So go ahead, open up Carrot and find this document. And if you remember, these are called side 1 and side 2. So we'll scroll down and we're up in the style section. So you're finding those selectors, and let's just delete the background color for both of those. Then we're going to go ahead and we'll add the images in. So let's go down to the main body and we'll add those images. Now, you're going to want to know what that's called. So if you look in your folder, so you should have copied this ROAR folder in, and then in images, we're going to just put in image 1 and 2. And if you want to switch it up and pick a different image, just change the number, anything up to 6. So find where it says div class equals side 1, and we're going to swap out the text that says side 1 with that image. So do image source equals, and then remember it's in the images folder, so that's why we have to reference that folder first. And then we'll just say image1.jpg and finish that quote. And then remember, we always want to put that alt tag in. And this is so if anyone is viewing this site and they are having it read to them, they'll know what this picture is about. So we're going to call this ROAR Vintage Bike. The other good thing this does is it helps us with our search engine optimization. So it's one more thing that search engines will see if they were looking for someone searching for a vintage bike, then this might pop up. Okay, so we'll finish that image and we'll do the same thing and replace side 2. So let's do image source, images, and then we'll do image 2. And then we'll call this one ROAR Classic Bike. Okay. Go ahead and save this and go back to here, refresh it, and you're going to kind of see what it looks like at this point. And right now we're kind of losing part of the image, so we're going to make some changes into our code. So we're going to go back up into the style section. And one common thing that's done, especially with responsive design, is you set a selector that's just a tag selector. So instead of it being a class selector like this, where it has the period, and remember, the period is there because these are all class selectors. Okay, so we're going to go in and we're just going to type in IMG. And when we put in the brackets, we're going to just say width 100%. So we just have, oops, I have an extra bracket there. And then save it and refresh that. Okay. And now you can see how it's fitting much better. You can also go in, if you wanted to be specific with any of your heights, you can play around with that. So if you look at this, this is the third row, because you have 1 row, 2 row, 3, and 4. Instead of auto, you could go back up into this grid section and we could say like 200 pixels. Just play around, see what happens. And you can see that changes it a little bit. Some of it's getting cut off, so we're not seeing all of the image. And it's overflowing. So I want to show you one other thing that you can do. So if you go back to your code, we're going to go back to side 1, and we're going to say overflow hidden. And we'll do that with just one of them, just so we can see. So I save and refresh. And I'm not noticing it quite yet. So let's go back, do it again on this one. Now you'll see, especially on this one, you can see where it no longer is showing the extra part of that picture. And that's because we set up here, this was a height basically for the row that was less than what this image was. The last thing I wanted to show you was dealing with the margins. And I want to remind you that margins are the space outside of the grid. Padding would be a space inside of the grid. So in the next lesson, we'll do some padding, which will push this text here that says main. It'll push that off the edge. We're going to deal with margin right now, which separates elements. So we're going to start out back down under the side 1 section. And we'll just type margin. And then remember, if you're going to do the 4 sides, you always rotate kind of like a clock around. So we start at the top, and so the first number you use is going to affect the top margin. The second number is going to be the right. The third number is the bottom. Fourth number is the left. So we're going to give it 10 pixels. That's not 10. 10 pixels on the top. 10 pixels on the right. We'll do 10 pixels on the bottom and then 0 pixels on the left. We want to keep this lined up over here. If I save it and refresh it, now you can see what happened there. Now we'll go down to side 2. We're going to basically do something similar. However, I don't want to double up the top margin. So I'm going to start out with 0 pixels. Then we'll do 10. And then I can show you what it would look like, because eventually we're going to add a footer. So we'll put some margin at the bottom. And then again, no margin on the left. Okay, so now you can see what that one looks like. And we'll apply some margin to the main div. So when we go into this one other trick you can do is if you just put 2 numbers in. So if I do 10 px and then 0 px, basically what I'm doing is I'm saying I want 10 on the top and the bottom, 0 on the left and the right. So when you only do 2, then you're basically combining top and bottom and combining left and right in that order. I save and refresh, and you can see now what that looks like.